From this moment on, his life, which proceeded like that of an ordinary mob, will change dramatically. How was he able to achieve this, and who should the goddess pray to? In 2019, many different structures suddenly appeared underground, which soon turned into labyrinths, called dungeons. Takagi Kaito's fate is closely tied to these mysterious dungeons that change his ordinary world as a slug explorer. Instead of hunting ordinary slugs, he encounters a golden slime that opens the door to something greater. The secrets of the dungeons and the origin of the servant card become a mystery, and he is faced with the question, who or what is behind these changes? Perhaps a goddess to whom he accidentally or fatefully prayed. Events unfold in an exciting world of dungeons, where an ordinary mob turns into something more, and the secrets of the past and present begin to be revealed, intertwined with the fate of the hero. The armies of several countries sent their expeditions to this mysterious world. Hundreds of floors were exposed to explorers, and many areas still remain unexplored. Dungeons introduced in 2019 promise endless secrets and dangers. Dungeon expeditions have become a real challenge for armies exploring this incredible world. Finding themselves deep in the labyrinth, explorers discover treasures and encounter monsters that have been in the shadows for many years. As it turns out, within the dungeons there are levels, skills, and magic, like a game world where each floor becomes a new challenge. This exciting world, filled with secrets and dangers, opens up a new reality for researchers and readers. Dungeons become a place where combat and adventure intertwine with magic and skill, turning a mundane expedition into an exciting quest similar to those found in games. And so a fascinating epic unfolds within the mysterious dungeons. The era of explorers has entered its golden era. Countries around the world have entered into a heated struggle for treasures and resources hidden in mysterious dungeons. Governments soon delegated this responsible task to private organizations, which led to the emergence of a new class of dungeon specialists called adventurers. In 2024, Japan passed the dungeon law, ushering in a new era for everyone to immerse themselves in exploring this mysterious world. Now every person has the opportunity to become an adventurer and take on dungeon exploration, pursuing their own goals and dreams. This new era of adventure offers the world endless opportunities and challenges. Adventurers with specialized skills and knowledge fight for fame, fortune, and supremacy. Under the laws and regulations approved by the state, dungeons become an arena for those who dream of exciting discoveries and great adventures. There are new horizons and opportunities ahead that open the doors to everyone who is ready to enter this exciting world of dungeons. In 2028, our hero, Takagi Kaito, continues his daily life in high school, but a passion for adventure ignites in his heart. Becoming an adventurer, he sets out to explore the first floor of a dungeon located right next to his home. With every step into the mysterious depths of the dungeon, Kaito faces new challenges and mysteries. Monsters whose forms exhaust the imagination, ancient artifacts, and magical phenomena become part of his new reality. He discovers levels, skills, and magic, transforming his life into an exciting quest. Despite his school worries, Kaito finds time every day to explore the dungeon, striving to uncover its secrets. His adventures attract the attention of other adventurers, and his name begins to be heard in worlds where he was previously just an ordinary schoolboy. Through secret passages and dark halls, Kaito continues his journey into the first floor of the dungeon, ready to become the hero of his era and open up new possibilities for the world, something like a modern archaeologist and great explorer of magic. Kaito, noticing a slug in the dungeon, quickly reacts by remembering his usual bug spray. Without hesitation, he sprays the slug with the spray, relying on his knowledge of this world. However, instead of the expected reaction, the slug begins to jump uncontrollably along the corridor, as if it had received an unexpected impulse of energy. Surprised and confused by this unusual situation, Kaito realizes that the slimes appeared to be reacting to this spray in an unusual way. They become active and aggressive, taking the form of restless movement along the surrounding corridors. Now, instead of being afraid of these creatures, Kaito feels interested and determined to investigate this unusual phenomenon. His dungeon adventures take a new turn, and he wonders what other secrets and unexpected reactions may await him in the mysterious depths of this mysterious dungeon. The slug's punch to Kaito's stomach stunned him for a moment. Pain pierced his body, but at the same moment the slug shrank and began to make hissing sounds, falling to the ground. Kaito, despite the blow, realized that his opponent had been defeated. Everything around became quiet, the tension of the struggle disappeared. Kaito breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that his careful efforts had borne fruit. 3 hours of fighting these slimes seemed like an eternity to him, but now that he had won, a feeling of satisfaction and pride washed over him. Descending to the ground, the slug took on a new form, clearly defeated. Kaito looked around at his surroundings, realizing that every minute of fighting these creatures was an important part of his dungeon adventure. The unexpected slime attack became not only a test for him, but also a lesson that taught him to be more vigilant in this dangerous dungeon world. After collecting a magical shard from the defeated slime, Kaido realized that it was a valuable resource known as the Monster's Heart. These magic shards can be sold at the guild for 500 yen each. But the only question is how significant such earnings are for a person in the world of dungeons. Although slimes are considered weak monsters and their shards are not worth much, for adventurers like Kaito, every yen has a price. However, in a world where dungeons provide unique opportunities for earning money, the question of whether it is worth spending your time on such tasks becomes relevant. For Kaito, it's not just a matter of making money, but also how much risk he is willing to take while exploring dungeons and collecting resources. It may be easier to earn 500 yen from a regular job, but the adventures and secrets hidden in the depths of the dungeons make each magical shard not only a source of income, but also part of his fascinating journey in this mysterious world. While walking through the dark corridors of the dungeon, Kaito suddenly notices a flickering light that catches his attention. Deciding to check his status, he discovers that his level, which started at level 2, has now reached level 3. He is filled with bewilderment and surprise, because he did not expect such unexpected growth. Kaito recalls 2 years of adventure, starting his journey in the world of adventurers when he was only 15 years old and received the wooden rank. Memories of fighting monsters, exploring dungeons, and constantly growing his skills fill his thoughts. Now discovering his level up, Kaito realizes that every step into the dungeon, every battle, and every adventure has become part of his journey to becoming a strong and respected adventurer. But the question of what exactly caused this increase in level remains a mystery that he will have to solve in his further research. Kaito, having gathered his strength and gained determination, decided to begin his journey in the world of adventurism. At the age of 15, he decided to take a week-long course provided by the Adventurers Association to obtain his license. However, before joining the ranks of adventurers, he had to pay a considerable sum, 100,000 yen. These courses became a kind of introduction to the world of adventure for Kaito. He mastered the basics of survival, combat techniques, dungeon exploration, and other essential skills of an adventurer. Faced with challenges and dangers, Kaito strived to overcome each challenge, becoming stronger and more experienced. The rank system of the Adventurers Association became his measure of success. He understood that every step forward brought him closer to his dream, to become an adventurer of the Orichalcum rank. His ranking was based on achievements, and each feat added to his ranking in this hierarchy. Kaito strived for the heights where his dream of becoming an Orichalcum ranked adventurer awaited, and every day brought new challenges and opportunities to raise his ranking in the world of adventurers. With determination in his eyes, Kaito sets out to explore the second floor of the dungeon. The first steps on this level fill the air with tension, as goblins and other monsters can be more dangerous compared to the first floor. Gradually penetrating the mysterious dark corridors, Kaito begins to observe the variety of monsters inhabiting the second floor. Goblins, as common inhabitants of these places, undoubtedly attract his attention, but more complex creatures may also be hiding there. After collecting information about monsters and their behavior, Kaito decides to develop a plan of action. He takes into account his own skills and strengths, as well as the weaknesses and characteristics of various monsters. Creating a strategy becomes an important step in successfully moving through the floor and collecting valuable information. Armed with this knowledge and a plan, Kaito prepares for the challenges that await him on the second floor. In his eyes, one can read the determination to conquer new heights and overcome any challenge in order to move forward towards his cherished dream of becoming an Orichalcum-ranked adventurer. Kaito's heart began to beat faster when he encountered 2 monsters shortly after descending to the second floor of the dungeon. He understood that his strength might not be sufficient to fight these creatures alone. The ladder for a quick escape was close, and he realized that at any moment he could decide to escape. However, before making a decision, Kaito glanced at the pile of trash behind the monsters. There he noticed backpacks, equipment, and even various clothes. The temptation to gain more resources and perhaps even improve his equipment pushed him to explore further. He decides to resort to cunning and use the environment to his advantage. Gathering his resolve, Kaito begins to carefully study the behavior of the monsters, trying to find a weak point. Hidden behind a trash heap, he prepares a plan that will allow him to take advantage of the available resources and perhaps even outmaneuver his opponents. The staircase in his form, as a symbol of freedom, reminded him of the opportunity to retreat, but Kaito decides to take the risk and meet the challenge that awaits him on the second floor of the dungeon. Confidently emerging from hiding, Kaito fixes his gaze on the goblins, who, it seems, did not expect such a brave response. The newcomer's serious look indicated that he was not going to stand still, and the goblins realized that the new enemy was not so simple. The goblins exchanged a quick glance, realizing that the situation was getting out of their control. Kaito stands like a seasoned warrior, ready to take on the challenge. The trash around whispers of many stories and adventures, and at this moment even the goblin who was smoking throws away his cigarette butt, preparing for a possible fight. With the fate of the second floor of the dungeon hanging in the balance, Kaito decides it's time to show the goblins what a true adventurer is. Kaito, despite his determination, found himself ambushed. The goblins, who turned out to be more cunning, with dexterity and strength, threw him to the floor, breaking his nose. A cry of pain sounded in the dungeon, but Kaito was not going to give up. The goblins, seizing the moment, were not only strong but also cunning. They snatched Kaito's wooden sword and seemed to be competing with each other for the loot. A dispute over who owned the weapon led to a brief scuffle between the goblins, allowing Kaito to try to recover. Taking advantage of the moment, Kaito, despite the pain and broken nose, quietly gets up. His eyes sparkle with determination, and despite the bad start, an opportunity opens up for him. While on the floor, he realizes that the sword is still within his reach, and perhaps this quarrel between the goblins may be the key to his salvation. Under the influence of the threat and realizing his mistake, Kaito decides not to waste time. He instantly gets up from the floor, leaving the goblins to their arguments. Despite the presence of pain in his broken nose, his determination only strengthens. With agility and determination, he rushes towards the stairs, trying to get to the first floor. His steps sound decisive, and every moment brings him closer to safety. The staircase, like a symbol of salvation, leads him back to the known, where he can again prepare and rethink his further steps in the dungeon. The goblins, realizing that their prey is slipping away, scream in rage, but Kaito is already on the way to salvation. A new phase of his adventure awaits him, and he intends to learn from this painful experience to become a stronger and wiser adventurer. The Dungeon Guild, called the Adventurer Research Center, is a place of constant activity. This place is an ideal stop for those who are looking for exciting adventures and eager to explore mysterious dungeons. The Guild provides a wide range of services and opportunities for adventurers of all ranks and experience levels. The Dungeon Information Center contains an extensive database of various dungeons, monsters, and treasures. Here, adventurers can get information about fresh quests, dangers, and new discoveries. This place becomes the source of important knowledge before each new underground adventure. The Team Finding Center allows adventurers to form groups to complete more complex tasks. Here they can find allies with different skills and experience to increase their chances of successfully completing the mission. The Magic Shard Shop is another key part of the guild. Here, adventurers can sell their acquired magical shards, as well as purchase the necessary ingredients and items to prepare for new adventures. All of these features make the Dungeon Guild the center of an intriguing and exciting world of adventure, where every adventurer can find something for themselves and build their own unique path through the dungeons. When Kaito showed up at the Dungeon Guild, beaten and confused, his image aroused the interest of the other members. Some of them, much more experienced and of a higher level, looked at him with some respect. It seemed to them that Kaito, judging by his damaged state, was a seasoned professional who had survived the difficult conditions of the dungeons. The guild members, seeing his battered state, speculated that he had probably fought powerful monsters or faced the dangers that more experienced explorers faced. They even began to respect him as a professional who may have already experienced many adventures in the dark corridors of dungeons. However, inside Kaito, this was just an illusion. He was an ordinary wood-rank adventurer who encountered difficulties on the second floor. This unexpected reaction from the other guild members created new challenges for him, because now he felt the additional pressure to live up to expectations that, by chance, after Kaito simply lost to ordinary goblins, his real abilities became clear to both himself and others guild members. Goblins proved to be intelligent and powerful opponents that even an ordinary high school student cannot easily defeat. Thus, Kaito is faced with the reality of his current level and knows that he needs to gradually evolve in order to become a stronger and more successful adventurer that has arisen around him. Kaito felt isolated in his group, not understanding why everyone was having fun while he fought monsters alone. He felt sad, realizing that his path as an adventurer was far from the carefree adventures that he saw around him. A feeling of loneliness overtook him, and Kaito decided to sell the magic shards and return home. However, at that moment, a girl named Hitsugaya, a staff member of the research center, appeared. She informed him that they had received a report of his battle with the monsters, and were glad that he had returned alive. Meeting Hitsugaya gave Kaito new hope and the understanding that his efforts were not going unnoticed. It was a moment of encouragement that inspired him to move on and perhaps even reconsider his role in the adventurer group. Hitsugaya, always kind and understanding, advised Kaito to do everything alone in the first level, but to find a team for more difficult tasks in the second level. She expressed her understanding that fighting alone on the first level may be quite possible, but on the second floor without a team it would be extremely dangerous. Kaito admitted that he understood, but expressed difficulty in finding a suitable team. Hitsugaya replied that all loners say so, but it is very dangerous to continue fighting alone. She advised him to be open and actively seek allies in the guild, among those who were also looking for a group for joint adventures. This conversation left Kaito feeling understood and supported, and also prompted him to think that being part of a team could give him not only strength, but also unique opportunities for growth and safety in the dungeon. Hitsugaya shared with Kaito an amazing discovery in the dungeon world. It turns out that there is a small chance that the monster will drop a rare card, with which Kaito can summon a servant inside the dungeon. The characteristics of these servants vary, ranging from ordinary goblins to powerful dragons. But the real rarity is the god cards, which allow you to summon a creature that resembles an angel. Only 100 such cards are known in the world. For Kaito, this was an opening door to new opportunities. He thought that if he could get at least one of these cards, he would be able to fight more successful battles alone at higher levels of the dungeon. However, Hitsugaya warned him that such cards could also be the subject of a luxury auction, where their value could reach 1 billion yen. This proposal opened up for Kaito not only prospects in the field of battles, but also the opportunity to become rich and respected in the society of adventurers. Hitsugaya respectfully and kindly accepted the fragments from Kaito's hands, giving him 35,000 yen in exchange. This amount turned out to be significant and very welcome for Kaito. After all, it represented a month's earnings for working hard to hunt slimes. Kaito felt the tension and financial uncertainty give way to a brief but pleasant feeling of confidence. Despite this, the dream of an S-rank card continued to seem unattainable for Kaito. He mused that perhaps obtaining such a map was simply too ambitious a goal. However, Hitsugaya, seeing his inner doubts, expressed support. She told Kaito not to despair because it was important to move at his own pace and take steps forward despite the difficulties. These words were a bright reminder to Kaito that his path forward does not depend on how difficult it is, and that every step brings him closer to achieving his dreams, even if it takes time and effort. After carefully studying the house, Kaito decided to analyze the chance of items dropping from killed monsters in dungeons. He found that the approximate chance of obtaining an item was between 1 and 3. These items include various potion ingredients and rare metals, making them valuable sources in dungeons. Among the most frequently encountered items, Kaito noticed magic balls, which provide the ability to use magical skills. This discovery opens up new perspectives for him in battle, allowing him to use magic to overcome difficult obstacles. In addition, sometimes the monsters left some kind of strange jelly, which, as Kaito found out, increases his ability points. This unusual find added an interesting aspect to his quest to improve his dungeon skills and abilities. 3 months flew by and Kaito continued his adventures in the dungeons. He was now more vigilant of his surroundings and was finally completely healed from his past battles. Realizing that carelessness could lead to dangerous consequences, he decided to change his style and begin to fight more actively on the ground floor. One day, following the movements of the slime, Kaito decided to clean up the mess using his usual spray. Now, with a new resolve to be more strategic and careful, he attacked the monster decisively. This experience became for him another step towards growth and self-improvement in the dangerous world of dungeons. Kaito, watching the slime, was suddenly surprised. The monster not only moved on its feet, but also accelerated with a whistle, starting to attack him. This was something unprecedented, and Kaito felt excitement and fear begin to overwhelm him. The monster, which had acquired legs, demonstrated unusual skills, and Kaito found himself in a situation that he had never encountered before. The spray, which usually helped him in battles with slimes, turned out to be useless. Kaito could not hit the new type of monster. At this time, the slime avoided his attacks with professional dexterity and attacked Kaito. For the first time, Kaito felt real fear of slime. Feeling a mixture of horror and determination, Kaito sought to find a way out of the current situation. He dreamed of slowing down, if only for a moment, this new and unusual slime that presented a new challenge in his underground explorations. The slime continued to accelerate, posing a serious threat to Kaito, but the young researcher decided that only the monster would lose today. Gathering his resolve, Kaito quickly created a cloud from his spray, creating something like smoke. He prepared to attack, knowing that this could be his last chance. The slime flew into the cloud and suddenly came under Kaito's attack. He fell and hissed, unable to resist the powerful spray. However, Kaito himself also did not escape the effects of his own technique, and his body felt the effects of the attack. At the moment when the cloud of smoke began to dissipate, Kaito saw that what was left after the slime was not a fragment, but a real servant card. This discovery amazed him, instilling new hope and curiosity. With the freshly mined map hidden in his pocket, Kaito continued his dungeon exploration with renewed enthusiasm. Kaito, shocked by the unexpected turn of events, wondered wistfully how a slime could leave behind a map when it died, especially since monsters usually didn't have a chance to drop items. The card depicted something mysterious and magical, an angel named Sylfia. There were also strange symbols on the map, the language of which, for some unknown reason, Kaito understood. An inner voice told Kaito that this card was unusual and had a high-level SSR. Sylfia, as he decided to call her, is a harbinger of great things to come. Kaito was stunned not only that he had become the owner of a servant card, but also that this card was especially valuable and could open up new horizons for him in the dungeons. Kaito, thrilled by the unexpected discovery, headed to the first-floor shrine room to recover and reflect on what had happened. His strange cries of joy did not go unnoticed, and the guild received several reports of a mysterious man running around the dungeon. In the altar hall, surrounded by an ancient atmosphere, Kaido realized that it was too early to rejoice. His servant card might be something unique and valuable, but he didn't know exactly how much. The internal dialogue in his soul forced him to approach this find with caution. Aware that prematurely discussing or showing the map in the guild might attract unwanted attention, Kaido decided to keep it a secret for now. There may be those in the guild who will try to take possession of such a valuable asset. Kaido knew he needed to be careful and judicious before sharing his discovery with the dungeon world. Kaido, thinking about the servant card with the image of Sylfia, remembered its name, Valkyrie. This name sounded familiar, because in Scandinavian legends, Valkyries appear as warriors and messengers of the gods. They serve in the divine class, possessing power and majesty. Now the question facing Kaido was, if he summoned Sylfia, would she be willing to serve him? He reflected that servant cards have their own will and their own preferences. After all, the Valkyrie, even in the dungeon world, could be an entity with its own goals and ambitions. Kaido was aware that summoning a god-class servant was a big responsibility, and he was prepared to face unpredictable consequences. Kaido was faced with a difficult choice: keep Sylfia's card in an undisclosed state, sell it for the huge sum of 1 billion yen and change his life, or summon a Valkyrie and gain a powerful companion to explore the dungeon together. Hitsugaya had warned that the card's value would drop significantly once it was summoned, and Kaido now faced a major internal conflict. The desire to unravel the mysteries of the dungeon world and explore it together with a powerful ally overcame the internal conflict. Kaido decided to summon Sylfia. At the moment of summoning, he felt how the atmosphere in the altar hall was filled with the energy of this Valkyrie. The destinies of Kaido and Sylfia began to intertwine in an amazing story, full of new challenges and discoveries in the exciting world of dungeons. Kaido didn't become an adventurer out of lust for wealth or ulterior motives. Only one dream burned in his heart: to see many wonders in the dungeon. His thirst for exploration and desire for adventure was sincere, devoid of greed. When it came to summoning a servant, Kaido followed the rules, holding the card correctly and saying the Valkyrie's name. His actions were aimed not at achieving any personal goals, but at realizing his cherished dream, immersing himself in the wonderful world of dungeons and discovering all its secrets and wonders. Kaido suddenly felt a powerful energy accompanied by an extraterrestrial aura as Sylfia came into his presence. However, instead of a huge form, the Valkyrie suddenly disappeared, and Kaido did not understand what had happened. Looking down, he saw a girl standing in front of him, barely 1.5 meters tall. This moment came as an unexpected surprise to Kaido. Perhaps Sylfia's size and appearance could change depending on the circumstances or the will of the servant herself. Now that she had taken on a more human form, Kaido knew that their collaboration would be even more unique and amazing than he could have imagined. In the world of ordinary high school students, Takagi Kaito stood out for his ordinariness and lack of supernatural abilities. There was that point where even the goblins beat him up, highlighting his commonness among mythical creatures. However, fate decided to make a change when Kaido, having destroyed a strange slime, discovered the servant card in his hands. The status screen blinked, revealing a secret. This card summons a Valkyrie. Most, faced with the opportunity to sell a card for a huge sum, would choose the path of easy enrichment. But not Kaido. He decided to summon Sylfia, and so began his amazing heroic story, filled with adventures, meetings, and unexpected turns, where every step into the dungeon opens up new facets of the amazing world, and next to him is the beautiful Valkyrie who became his companion. Standing in front of Takagi Kaito, the expected Valkyrie turned into something completely unexpected: a small but charming girl. There were no traces of a powerful warrior in her appearance, and Kaito, with a puzzled expression on his face, began to doubt that this modest figure was a legendary card capable of summoning a Valkyrie. However, Sylfia's voice was so sweet that it couldn't help but make Kaito smile. "My name is Sylfie," she said with a smile, announcing that she had come here to serve Kaito. Now he was her master, and their amazing collaboration began. Thus began the amazing adventure of Kaito and Sylfia's alliance. Together they face the mysteries of dungeons, overcome difficulties, and find pleasure in every corner they explore, no matter the size or shape. And although at first glance Sylfia seemed small, her mercy and strength manifested themselves in the most unexpected and exciting moments. Little Sylfia, despite her cute age of about 10 years old, turned out to be incredibly attractive. Her wings on her back gave her a special, non-human appearance that was different from the normal appearance of humanity. Kaito, who began to doubt the truth of her service, gazed into her kind eyes and began to believe that she was his faithful companion, called to him through the mysterious servant card. Deep down, Kaito knew that this alliance with Sylfia could lead to incredible adventures and amazing discoveries in the dungeon world. However, the temptation of the billion yen that he could get by exchanging the card remained. creating an internal conflict between material well-being and adventure in unknown worlds. Sylfia, small and mysterious, stood in front of Kaito, not understanding why his face showed displeasure. She was devoted to her new master, and her eyes looked at him with curiosity and devotion. Kaito, realizing his mistake, realized that he had not taken her feelings into account and had not shown enough consideration before regretting that he could have lost 1,000,000,000 yen by exchanging the card. Sylfia, being a servant but also a sensitive being, supported Kaito, saying that if they had to fight, he could trust her completely. She expressed her desire to stay close to protect her master and prevent him from being threatened. Kaito realized that Sylfia was not just a tool for fighting in the dungeon, but also a loyal ally ready to defend her master in any situation. Kaito looked closely at Sylfia and realized that she was truly worried about him. However, the tempting light of 1,000,000,000 yen continued to flicker in his eyes, creating an internal conflict between material wealth and his heroic dream. Despite the internal pressure to make a choice, Kaito finally made a decision. He realized that his dream, his desire for adventure and dungeon exploration, was much more important than 1,000,000,000 yen. In the end, his dream gave him the strength to overcome the temptation of material wealth and choose the path of adventure. With confidence in his heart, Kaito looked at Sylfia and said, "We will explore the dungeons together, Sylfia. This is my dream, and I am not willing to sacrifice it for 1,000,000,000 yen." After Kaito absorbed the new information about Sylfia's ability, he began to delve into the details and think about how they could make the best use of her abilities. This gave him a new perspective on dungeon exploration that he had never previously imagined. However, doubt still smoldered within him. He asked himself questions about how accurate and reliable Sylfia's ability was, and how she would be able to deal with unknown threats in the dungeons. Kaito recognized that with this new ability came responsibility and the need to make informed decisions. Sylfia, in turn, was ready to support her master in his quest. Her loyalty and devotion gave Kaito confidence despite his initial doubts. Together they began their journey into unexplored parts of the dungeons, where every step was a harbinger of a new challenge and adventure. Sylfia, despite her youth and appearance as a girl, had amazing characteristics. Her level of 170 earned Kaito admiration and respect. This figure became confirmation for him that Sylfia was not just a cute girl, but a powerful fighting artifact on his team. Battle points, BP, became a key stat for both of them. These indicators were not only an indicator of their strength in battle, but also indicated the physical endurance necessary for long explorations of dungeons. Sylfia, despite her youth, demonstrated impressive combat power. What was intriguing was that all of these characteristics only manifested themselves in dungeons. Together with Sylfia and Kaito, they began their adventure in this mysterious and dangerous world, where each level, each battle brought new experience and revealed the secrets of the dungeons to them. While observing Sylfia, Kaito was puzzled by the strange gap between her appearance on the card and the actual underground reality. Apparently, mystery and mystery accompanied not only the dungeon itself, but also its inhabitants. Sylfia, despite her childish appearance, expressed adult determination and a desire to show off her fighting skills. Kaito decided to give her a chance, please. He was ready to see what this little girl was really capable of doing. But questions about strange anomalies in her characteristics were still up in the air. Why does the card show an adult girl and not the girl he is currently facing? Regarding its detection ability, why was this information not presented on the map? The secrets of the dungeon seemed to have their roots in her personal history. Kaito realized that these riddles could lead to even more amazing discoveries in the dungeon world. Kaito, slightly taken aback by Sylfia's confidence, agreed. Together they headed to the place where, judging by her sensitivity, the monster was located. Kaito wondered what kind of inner world the little goddess was hiding and how her innocent appearance combined with divine power. As they approached the slime, Sylfia entered the fight without hesitation. Her movements were deft and efficient, as if she were dancing with an aerial opponent. Kaito's eyes filled with respect as he watched the little goddess cope with the task. The slime was fast and resilient, but Sylfia easily dodged its attacks. Her small hands radiated light, and Kaito felt that something powerful was happening. With every maneuver Sylfia made, the battle became more and more exciting. Kaito, knocked off his feet by the powerful shockwave, found himself pinned against the wall. He couldn't help but think that such power within little Sylfia looked impressive and a little scary at the same time. As Kaito tried to regain his balance, he noticed that the slime had completely disappeared, leaving behind a magical shard. "Wow, Sylfie, you are a true goddess in battle." Surprise came out of Kaito's mouth. Sylfie, her blue eyes full of determination, smiled and said, "Thank you, Kaito. This is part of my divine skills." Kaito, still feeling a little dazed, dared to ask, "You probably weren't the one showing off your full power, were you?" Sylfie covered her mouth with her hand, blushing. "Well, maybe a little, but now we can move on and explore the dungeon together." From that moment on, Kaito realized that his life in the dungeons had taken an unexpected turn, and Sylfia became an integral part of this exciting adventure. Kaito, who was lying on the ground after a powerful blow, heard the footsteps of Sylfia, who quickly ran up to him. Looking at his new ally, he smiled, realizing that she could truly be a powerful force in battle. "Kaito, are you okay?" Sylfia asked anxiously, bending towards him. "That was an amazing blow, Sylfia. You are truly powerful," Kaito replied, rising from the ground. "I didn't even expect the slime to disappear so quickly." Sylfia began to apologize. "I'm sorry, Kaito, I didn't mean to offend you. It was just a test of my strength." "Don't worry, Sylfia, you just followed my instructions and everything is fine." "On the contrary, you were amazing," Kaito praised her. Sylfia smiled with gratitude and joy. She was ready to move on with Kaito and explore the dungeon, experiencing with him all the difficulties and exciting discoveries that lay ahead. The sound coming from Sylfia was so terrible that Kaito even thought that his own heart was about to explode. He looked at Sylfia with worry as he watched her fall to the ground. "Sylfia, what's wrong with you?" Kaito cried, anxiety washing over him like a wave. Sylfia, lying on the floor, replied with a heavy sigh, "Sorry, Kaito. This is the sound of my hunger. It seems that my goddess essence requires constant feeding, and if I don't eat, it can become dangerous." Kaito, mixed with feelings of concern and surprise, breathed a sigh of relief. "So you need to eat something divine?" he asked, trying to understand the nature of her hunger. "Yes, that's right. But in this dungeon, where monsters and slimes are commonplace, I unfortunately have nothing to eat," Sylfia replied with sadness in her voice. Kaito began to realize that his adventures in the dungeon were just beginning, and from now on he would not only have to fight monsters, but also satisfy the appetite of the divine Valkyrie. Kaito and Sylfia continued their journey through the first level of the dungeon. Sylfia, although a magnificent Valkyrie, turned out to have her limitations. Kaito began to realize that her need for mana was similar to the need for food for humans. They encountered monsters, explored the dark corners of the dungeon, and Sylfia interacted with the environment to detect potential threats. Kaito strongly supported her in the battle, feeling their strength and synergy growing. However, as with any adventure, there were difficulties. One day, Sylfia used too much of her mana, leaving her reckless and exhausted. Kaito quickly realized that managing Sylfia's resources was key to successfully completing the dungeon. Kaito also noticed that the magic shards they collected in battle proved useful not only for selling, but also for restoring magic and satisfying Sylfia's hunger. This new discovery added a strategic element to their underground adventure. Sylfia, despite her power, also had her weaknesses and limitations. Kaito learned from Hitsugaya that if a servant's health level reaches 0, then the servant card can no longer be used. This became an additional incentive for Kaito to be careful about Sylfia's safety in battle. Kaito also realized that hungry servants became less effective in battle. This emphasized the importance of proper resource management and providing Sylfia with not only mana, but also the necessary energy resources in the form of magic shards. Sylfia's detection abilities proved useful, adding a tactical element to their strategy. Thanks to her, Kaito could avoid unexpected enemies and better plan his actions in the dungeon. With Sylfia's confidence and magical power, Kaito was now able to handle much more difficult monsters than before. Whereas previously he was forced to carefully choose his battles and spend hours destroying just one slime, now, in the company of Valkyrie, he could easily fight an entire group of monsters in a short time. Thanks to Sylfia's detection abilities, Kaito avoided traps and took cover from surprise attacks. This made his adventures more predictable and safer. All this led to the fact that Kaito could devote more time to exploring the dungeon, getting closer to his cherished goal. Kaito and Sylfia became an inseparable duo, with the dream of exploring dungeons intertwined with the strength and skills of Valkyrie. This union gave Kaito not only magical power, but also the belief that he could achieve his dreams together with a reliable companion. Kaito felt that his adventures took on new colors with every amazing moment he and Sylfia experienced. He not only found a reliable ally, but also a true girlfriend in his quest to conquer the dungeon. When Kaito showed Sylfia the crystals they had accumulated, her eyes sparkled with admiration and joy. She clearly enjoyed these shiny magic stones, and Kaito realized that there was something special about their friendship. By mixing their skills and powers, Kaito and Sylfia became an integral part of each other. Together they explored, fought, collected valuable resources, and each success brought them closer to their goals. Thanks to this duo, Kaito felt that his dream was much closer, and the dungeon world was full of possibilities and secrets that they had to uncover. Kaito was impressed by Sylfia's honesty and integrity. She did not accept gifts that she did not earn through her own labor. This moral code further strengthened the bond between them, showing that even in such a strange and dangerous world, where the dungeons were infested with monsters, there was a place for honesty and loyalty. Kaito respected Sylfia's decision and became even more grateful for her company. As they embarked on new adventures and overcame challenges together, they became an integral part of each other. their trust and understanding growing stronger with each passing day. Kaido decided to conduct a series of experiments to determine how to more effectively harness the power of Sylfia's divine lightning. He began to study its capabilities, conducting various tests and measurements. 1. Minimum power. Kaido tested how the Sylfia could adjust the power of her divine lightning and determined that it was capable of firing 9 shots at minimum power. 2. Maximum power. He then measured how much energy was required for one maximum shot. 3. Mana consumption. After analyzing the data obtained, Kaido tried to determine how changes in power affect mana consumption and how this process could be optimized. 4. Effectiveness in battle. Kaido conducted comparative tests in battles with different powers to understand how best to use divine lightning in different situations. Through these experiments and data analysis, Kaido tried to optimize the use of divine lightning as much as possible so that the Sylfia could effectively fight monsters, minimizing mana consumption and maximizing effectiveness in battle. Now the Sylfia has become an indispensable ally for Kaido. Their interaction with the Sylfia acting as a scout and Kaido as an enforcer significantly increased the efficiency of their joint hunts. Kaido trusted the Sylfia, relying on her ability to detect monsters, while he himself focused on destroying dangerous creatures. Sylfia successfully fulfilled her new role, quickly identifying slimes and other monsters, and Kaido, having prepared in advance, dealt with them effectively. This approach allowed them to bypass obstacles and reduce the risk of engaging an unknown enemy. This combination of powers and skills made Kaido and the Sylfia a great team, and each of their dungeon adventures was made more productive by this teamwork. Kaido, having received the new slime killer skill, felt mixed emotions. On the one hand, it was a useful skill for hunting slimes, which would make destroying them much easier. On the other hand, the skill level was too low, and he realized that at higher levels the skill would probably become more effective. Sylfia, enjoying Kaido's new skill, did not notice his doubts. She was ready to help him destroy the slimes, regardless of skill level. Kaido decided that perhaps in the future he could improve this skill or acquire other more useful skills. Thus began a new chapter in their adventures as Kaido and the Sylfia, armed with their own unique skills, explored the dungeon and perfected their teamwork in battle. Sylfia, looking at Kaido's new shield in admiration, exclaimed, "Kaido, your new shield is amazing. Now we'll be much more protected in battle. And the sword is cool too. I can't wait to see who we'll meet in the dungeon today. Hopefully they'll be more interesting opponents than the slimes." Kaido smiled and replied, "Thank you, Sylfia, you look amazing too. Yes, today I decided to change our strategy and test how we handle tougher opponents. Let's be careful and work as a team." They headed into the dungeon, ready for new challenges and adventures. Kaido felt that with the Sylfia by his side he had a true ally, and he was ready for any trials that awaited them in the dungeon. Kaido felt mixed emotions as he prepared to explore the second floor. He was excited by the opportunity to meet new opponents and find valuable resources, but at the same time, the worry of what could happen still lingered in him. Sylfia, sensing his tension, said soothingly, "Kaido, we are a team, and together we can overcome any difficulties. Don't worry, I will always be here, ready to help." Kaido nodded, grateful for the support. They went down to the second floor together, ready for new challenges and adventures in the depths of the dungeon. "Sorry for the confusion. Let's start again." Kaido and Sylfia prepared for a new challenge and headed to the parts of the dungeon where they had previously encountered the goblins. Their goal was to find and deal with these opponents, who previously turned out to be stronger than they thought. While approaching the site of the supposed confrontation, Kaido and Sylfia discovered traces of goblins. They carefully followed these tracks, trying not to get noticed. Soon they heard a noise and crash. The goblins were nearby. Kaido and Sylfia slowed their pace, eager to find a suitable location for an ambush or simply to gain information about the goblins' strength before attacking. Kaido, holding his new wooden sword, and Sylfia, with her battle-ready pose, were ready for battle. Kaido paused, listening to what Sylfia was feeling. His heart began to beat faster, memories of his previous encounter with the goblins flooding into his mind. He remembered his miscalculation and how the goblins were stronger than he expected. Sylfia, like a goddess, sensed the proximity of the goblins and began to flicker with a soft light, warning Kaido. She whispered to him that they needed to be more careful and avoid what happened last time. Kaido, covering his fearful heart with his hand, decided that this time everything would be different. He gathered his will into a fist and prepared for battle, realizing that he was again faced with a test, and he could not repeat his previous mistakes. Sylfia felt the presence again, but this time Kaido walked decisively towards the mountain of trash. He peered into the dark corners, trying to make out some movements. When he saw a slight trembling in one of the corners, he rushed there and hit the garbage. Instead of the expected goblins or other enemies, a small rat ran out of there, darting around in fear. Kaido sighed in relief, realizing that it was just a rat and not a new danger. Sylfia grinned, emphasizing that sometimes in the dungeon you can meet not only enemies, but also simple creatures that pose no danger. Kaito smiled and decided to continue his journey with Sylfia, knowing that they still had many adventures and challenges ahead of them. Kaito, sensing the attack from behind, quickly turned around, using his shield to protect himself. The goblins attacked with fury, but thanks to the shield, Kaito was able to withstand the blows. He managed to free himself from their grip, pushing away one goblin and exposing his shield to the blow of the second. At this time, Sylfia stood aside, following Kaito's request. He felt that this was his own battle, and he resolutely stood up to the goblins. Believing in himself and his skills, he tried to control the situation by directing the goblins to attack his shield. The goblins, seeing that Sylfia was not interfering, became increasingly annoyed, and their attacks became less coordinated. Kaito, taking advantage of this moment, began to counterattack, trying to return blows. He knew that his strength lay in strategy and the use of available means. Sylfia, despite her desire to help, watched the battle, proud of Kaito's decision to act on his own. Sylfia couldn't remain passive while watching Kaito fight. When the second goblin tried to attack Kaito from behind, she reacted instantly. Sylfia deftly grabbed the goblin's leg and, using her goddess strength, threw him hard against the wall. The goblin, screaming in pain, temporarily dropped out of the battle. Now Kaito could focus on defeating the goblin he had pinned against the wall. Kaito, using his high agility, hit the goblin in the weak spots, causing him to quickly retreat. Thanks to Kaito's courage and strength, as well as Sylfia's support, the goblins were defeated. Kaito felt inner confidence and satisfaction from his progress. He realized that together with Sylfia, they could overcome any difficulties, even in the most dangerous parts of the dungeon. The goblin, not succumbing to the first blow, turned out to be surprisingly resilient. Kaito, still determined, decided to use a different tactic. He swung his wooden sword hard between the goblin's legs, causing it to fall to the ground, letting out a loud, shrill scream. Thus, Kaito was able to defeat the last goblin. He felt much more confident and capable thanks to Sylfia's support. Both of them, in cooperation, continued their journey deeper into the dungeon, where new challenges and adventures awaited them. Sylfia and Kaito continued their journey through the dungeon, encountering various monsters and testing their skills in battle. With each new battle, Kaito gained experience and wisdom, allowing him to better understand battle strategies and unlock his potential. Sylfia, in turn, demonstrated her divine skills, surprising Kaito and helping them overcome various challenges. Traveling to the second level of the dungeon, Kaito discovered that more complex and dangerous creatures awaited him there. Encounters with new monsters raised his adrenaline, and Kaito began to realize that his strength and experience were steadily growing. One day, they encountered a powerful dragon, which became a serious test for Kaito and Sylfia. The battle was fierce, but through tactical improvement and excellent teamwork, they were able to defeat the dragon. After this victory, Kaito gained new skills and expanded his arsenal. Sylfia, seeing her master's growth, also moved forward, acquiring new divine abilities. Their adventures became more and more exciting, and the bond between Kaito and Sylfia strengthened with each floor of the dungeon passed. Sylfia proved to be not only an incredibly powerful combat support, but also a loyal companion on Kaito's exciting journeys. The interaction between them became closer and deeper with every battle and trial they went through together. Despite her divine strength, Sylfia sensed the subtleties of human feelings and relationships. Kaito, in turn, valued her not only as an incredible fighter, but also as a loyal friend. Together they formed an invincible duo, striding for new heights and plunging into the depths of the dungeon. Time and time again, Kaito felt that his own development and improvement were also of great importance. Despite all the miracles that Sylfia could perform, he knew that only his own efforts would help him reach the heights of the dungeon and unravel the secrets that were hidden there. Sylfia didn't just become part of his adventures, she became his inspiration. Her wisdom and strength filled Kaito with determination and confidence that they would cope with any challenge, rising higher and deeper in the world. Sylfia felt an enemy coming towards them. Kaito thought it was a goblin, but suddenly he saw a skeleton. The events took place at school. Kaito's friend Mizutani asked Kaito if he still went to the dungeon. He said that Kaito had only recently been discharged from the hospital and asked how many of the slime gave Kaito this time. Kaito said that he was done with slimes and that he was now hunting goblins. His friends were very surprised by this. Mizutani stared at Kaito in disbelief as he announced his new occupation, goblin hunting. Kaito's friends were clearly surprised by this sudden change in priorities. "Goblins? Are you crazy?" exclaimed one of the friends. "Are you getting bored with our exploits in the dungeons?" added another. Kaito smiled, feeling the support of his friends, but a sense of determination flickered in his eyes. "Slimes were just the beginning. Now I'm a true hunter, and goblins are my next target. I'm sure I'll be more successful against these creatures." They all shook their heads, confused, but at the same time expressing their support. For Kaito, the dungeon adventure continued and he was ready for new challenges. Kaito was sure that something had changed between him and Katsuragi. He noticed how she avoided his gaze and often blushed when they accidentally met in the school hallway. The childhood friendship seemed to have cooled, and Kaito decided to keep his distance so as not to embarrass Katsuragi even more. When Kaito's friends teased him about his relationship with Katsuragi, he simply brushed it off with, "We're all childhood friends, nothing special." He tried not to draw attention to himself, but every time he met Katsuragi's gaze, his heart beat faster. Kaito wondered how to regain the warmth and closeness that previously existed between him and Katsuragi. Perhaps the dungeon adventure could be a turning point in their relationship. With each floor of the dungeon, Kaito realized that not only was his fighting skills improving, but his inner world was also undergoing changes. He became stronger not only as an adventurer, but also as a person. Fear of goblins gave way to self-confidence, and hunting monsters became not only a means of earning money, but also a part of his life. Kaito dreamed of reaching the 10th floor with Sylfia, his friend who had become an integral part of his adventures. But another dream glimmered in his heart, to confess his feelings to Katsuragi. And although the dungeon could bring danger and uncertainty, Kaito looked forward with determination and hope. He knew that monster encounters and dungeon challenges were just steps towards achieving his dreams in the dungeon and in his personal life. At the ceremony at the National Dungeon Center, at the colorful 4th regeneration counter, Kaito proudly accepted the presentation of a stone rank token. This token was more than just a reward for him, it was a symbol of the end of a long period of difficulties and failures. He looked at this symbol, personifying his labors and achievements, with reverence. Congratulations from all sides only increased the feeling of triumph within Kaito. Words of support and recognition meant that his efforts were recognized by society. Kaito realized that his research mission now took on a new level of seriousness and responsibility. With a stone rank token came not only status and respect, but also practical benefits. Benefits and subsidies from the research center opened up new opportunities and made Kaito a full-fledged dungeon explorer. This was a new stage in his adventures, filled with unknown dangers and exciting discoveries. At a ceremony at the National Dungeon Center, at the colorful 4th regeneration stand, Kaito proudly accepted the presentation of a stone rank token. This token was more than just a reward for him. It was a symbol of the end of a long period of difficulties and failures. He looked at this symbol, personifying his labors and achievements, with reverence. Congratulations from all sides only increased the feeling of triumph within Kaito. Words of support and recognition meant that his efforts were recognized by society. Kaito realized that his research mission now took on a new level of seriousness and responsibility. With a stone rank token came not only status and respect, but also practical benefits. Benefits and subsidies from the research center opened up new opportunities and made Kaito a full-fledged dungeon explorer. This was a new stage in his adventures, filled with unknown dangers and exciting discoveries. Kaito stood in front of the guild members, trying to explain what had happened. The earthquake caused by Sylfia did not go unnoticed, and the hero found himself under the tense gaze of those around him. He had to make up a story to keep his special connection with this powerful servant a secret. Kaito tried to convince the guild that the earthquake was just the result of his successful fight against the monsters in the dungeon. He tried to avoid details specifically about Sylfia because he didn't want information about her to become public. The guild was still suspicious, but Kaito tried to convince everyone that he was simply using his skills and guild service to achieve success in the dungeon. However, questions about the earthquake that occurred remained up in the air, and the guild was ready to closely monitor Kaito's further actions. Kaito found himself in a difficult position, standing in front of the guild where his actions in the dungeon were questioned. The guild was strict regarding rules and laws, especially regarding the dungeon. Kaito realized the gravity of the situation and began to tell his version of events. He described his journey into the dungeon, encountering monsters and successfully using his skills. Kaito tried to convince him that the earthquake was just a side effect of his fight, an accident caused by the explosive defeat of the monsters. The guild, however, was not happy and demanded more detailed information. They sought to understand whether Kaito's action was intentional and intended to cause damage to the dungeon. Kaito had to walk a tightrope, trying to keep his secret while convincing the guild that his intentions were honest. Kaito, trying to avoid possible problems, decided to present the events as a random coincidence. He told the guild that in the process of fighting monsters he used his skills without foreseeing the possible consequences. Kaito claimed that he was unaware that his actions could cause an earthquake and that it was a purely random and unfortunate incident. He portrayed himself as an ordinary explorer who encounters unexpected circumstances. Kaito insisted that his goal was only to explore the dungeon and fight monsters, and not to cause harm to the structure of the dungeon. The guild, although skeptical, decided for now to accept this event as a misunderstanding. However, Kaito knew that he would have to be careful to keep the secret regarding Sylfia's power and possible influence on the surrounding area. Kaito, getting up after stumbling, felt the gaze of a dear man on him. The man, clearly expressing his displeasure, asked Kaido if he had been taught to apologize since he had just bumped into him. "I'm sorry, I really am," Kaido responded quickly, realizing that now was not the best time for conflict. "It was my misunderstanding, I didn't mean to offend you." He bowed and hurried past, trying to soften the situation and avoid further trouble. The situation became increasingly tense. The man, understanding Kaido in a completely different way, was in a state of rage. Kaido tried to explain what he meant, but the man did not want to listen. The guild, interfering only slightly, continued to observe what was happening. As a result, the man began to beat Kaido despite his attempts to justify himself. The laughter and ridicule of others only added fire to this unpleasant situation. Kaido, trying to defend himself, was thinking about how to get out of this fight with minimal losses. The guild, although they suspected that Kaido was hiding something, decided not to interfere in what was happening. Perhaps they also saw potential in Kaido and decided to give him a chance to show his true abilities in the future. Meanwhile, Kaido continued to endure the blows, but in his painful situation, he began to realize that even if he could not stand up to the man now, his desire to become a dungeon explorer remained strong. With strong determination, despite the pain and humiliation, Kaido held his ideal and dream in his heart. Inspired by the salesman's advice, Kaido decided to take his fitness into his own hands. He headed to a local fitness center, where he met a workout instructor. The instructor quickly determined Kaido's goals and developed an individual training program for him. Kaido's days were filled with exercise, physical activity, and a strict diet. As he trained, he noticed improvements in his endurance, strength, and flexibility. He also carefully studied basic fighting techniques to use in the dungeons. After months of hard work, Kaido felt his body become stronger and he became more prepared for the challenges of the dungeons. His muscles became stronger, and his physical fitness allowed him to interact more effectively with his opponents. At the end of his fitness journey, Kaido not only achieved better physical shape, but also gained confidence in his abilities. He believed that he would now be able to take on the new challenges of the dungeons and become even stronger in his adventures. Kaido took the seller's instructions into account. He was determined to implement new principles into his life and training regimen. Outside the dungeons, he made new friends in the training hall who shared his ambition to become a top-notch explorer. Training became a daily routine for Kaido, and he became actively involved in studying martial arts to better understand his enemy, the skeleton. He mastered techniques aimed at destroying sources of magic and exploring the weaknesses of skeletons. Kaido also maintained a strict diet to maintain his energy and accelerate muscle growth. He worked not only on physical strength, but also on battle strategies to become a more skilled and effective fighter. Over time, Kaido noticed improvements in his wrestling skills and overall fitness. As he prepared for his next adventures, he felt that brute strength combined with careful preparation could be his key advantage in the dungeons. Upon seeing the magical dimensional storage bag, Kaido was amazed at its functionality. He imagined how convenient it would be to have such a bag in his arsenal when fighting monsters in the dungeon. However, the price of 10 million yen seemed excessive to Kaido. The seller, noticing Kaido's interest in the bag, approached him and began to tell him about the benefits of this magical device. He emphasized that the bag can greatly facilitate carrying equipment, storing resources and equipment for long trips into the dungeon. Kaido thought about it, weighing his options. The bag was certainly a useful item, but he didn't have enough money. Perhaps, over time, he would be able to save up enough money to buy it, but for now he had decidedly refused to buy it, focusing on his current tasks and adventures in the dungeon. The seller, seeing the disappointment in Kaido's eyes due to the high cost of the magic bag, suddenly showed kindness. He handed Kaido a staff made of tungsten, emphasizing that it was a quality weapon capable of serving as a faithful companion in the dungeon. The staff had impressive stats, making it quite powerful even for a beginner. Kaido was pleasantly surprised by such an unexpected gift and gratefully accepted the staff. The seller advised him to pay attention not only to weapons, but also to training his own skills. He claimed that with the right technique and strength training, Kaido would be able to deal with monsters more effectively, even without expensive items. Kaido, holding his new staff, felt a surge of energy and determination. Now he had not only good weapons, but also the support of the guild, as well as a faithful companion in the person of the Sylfia. He was ready to go underground again and take on the challenges that lay ahead.